on in, have a seat, take a look. It's time once again for the Squatch Clouds podcast. Tonight on the Vidcast, Reverend takes us to Oscoda County, Michigan for official Bigfoot sightings, along with some news of a brand new Quasi Theory from Dean Cooper and an Eldorado Bigfoot Watch upstate, followed by an epic Reverend. What's he mentioned about this one? Then wrapping it all up with a fantastic Bigfoot Campfire Story. And now, here's your host, the Reverend Jeff Kelly.
Thank you, everybody. That's right. I am indeed the Reverend Jeff. We're going to get with the announcer guy after the show here and see if we can't figure those things out. I am indeed the leader of Lost Packs, it seems. And we are back right here for the Squatchers Lounge podcast, and the beard is becoming bushier and squatchier as the days go by. If you missed it, the Reverend cut it off, man. We're regrowing it because we're all started on a new adventure. And we'll be talking about that adventure again here in just a little bit. But first, let's get some of this other stuff out of the way so we can get on to better things. We are going to be talking about Michigan Bigfoot encounters tonight. We also have a new camping tips for stupid from Jeb and Moore. Didn't get that out to me before I put the show ad up, but it's cool because it's here. And we've got a sponsor for the news tonight, as a matter of fact. It is Sacred Stone. I have one of their pieces in my hand, and I will show you that here. Yeah, okay, thanks, sir, announcer guy. Show you that here after the news as well. But it is a fantastically fine stone pipe that the man created for me of a Bigfoot relic type thing. It's amazing. I'll show you here in just a minute or two, but let's get to the news. Apparently, the Independent wants you to know that your established story of how humans came from Africa may be wrong. Says a new study. Yeah, we keep getting these. I think we've seen this one or another one like it in the last couple of weeks. These new footprints that they're finding in Europe is making everybody abound. The study looked at the characteristics of the footprint, in particular, examining its toes. It found that the footprint didn't have claws. Oh, my goodness. It walked on 2 feet and had inner toes that went out further than its outer ones. Feet have been weirdly shaped for a long time. There's a lot of that stuff going on, so check that one out. I think we covered that one. It's kind of why I'm skipping past it. Hey, our quasi theorist Dean Cooper likes to post these things up. We'll get back to that one to see. But they're all going to do this now. Thank you, Google. You suck. If I haven't told you that Google sucks in the past, Google sucks now. Google's tracking that I'm using Google. That from petroglyphs to audio recordings, BC scientist advocates for examination of Sasquatch evidence, but critics say the lack of compelling evidence will not keeps science away. It was a Sunday, October afternoon on Meekum Mountain near Valemont, BC, when William, what he later determined to be a Sasquatch-like creature. At first, he thought he was observing a grizzly bear until it stood up on 2 legs and wandered back into the forest. Its arms were much thicker than a man's, and arms and longer, reaching almost to its knees. Its feet were broader proportionally than a man's, Rose said 2 years after his 1955 sighting. We don't consider ourselves believers. Rose's story is similar to dozens of encounters across the province from Valemont to, I can't pronounce that valley, in north to Comics, and I can't pronounce that name either, on Vancouver Island. That's right, people. Check it out. Vancouver Island. Keith Ross is over there. He's one of the guys looking into it. There's another couple of fellas that I've talked to recently that are hanging out over there on Vancouver Island, and they're pretty sure that there's some Sasquatches hanging out. He forwarded me a piece of video to listen to, and well, unfortunately, it's just so noisy that I couldn't drag anything out of it. But they're going to keep trying out there. They're waiting for winter to start dropping a little bit of snow so they can do some more tracking over there. But apparently, you know, Vancouver Island is still an active Squatchy zone. And as you've heard on the on the podcast, it's the Squatchcast. That's maybe what we ought to do it. The podcast before, you know, Vancouver Island at low tide, there's times that you can walk to it. Chimpanzees and orangutans look for information to fill gaps in their knowledge, tells Phys.org. It's a familiar problem when you leave the house, and while closing the door, the question whether the stove is on or off pops into your head. Although annoying, the problem could easily be solved by turning around and taking a second look, which illustrates the importance of thinking. The metacognition for the ability to monitor one's own mental states before turning around. Whether you remember the state of the stove, once you realize that you don't remember, you seek additional information. Importantly, in humans, this monitoring process is very flexible and can be applied to all sorts of thoughts, not just ones about your stove. Researchers from the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology and the University of St. Andrews asked what great apes would do if they were confronted with such a situation. It's a really good read. It basically goes into the problem-solving skills of chimpanzees and orangutans, our closest cousins. They don't have the big brain, but they do have the problem-solving parts of their brains. Well, a lot they don't have advanced motor skills, and they don't have the size of the memory that we have. I mean, for God's sakes, why can I recall what was on the wall in my room when I was in my crib? I don't know, and I don't care. But apparently, the size of my brain wants me to remember that. You know, tools instead of food. There's a lot of good things that this article goes through and points out. Phys.org, chimpanzees, orangutans, gaps in knowledge. And you can probably bring that one right up. Or ask the old Reverend for a link, because I keep them just for you people. As I already read that article a couple of times. All right. The Daily Interlake. Let's talk about some Bigfoot stuff. Columbia Falls woman tracks Bigfoot for 24 years. That's right, people. Misty Alibaugh uses the flashlight to search for hair on a log while hiking near Columbia Falls recently. She knows exactly what she saw as she rested her hand against the back door of her dad's truck in late October 1993. It was just before dusk when her family headed out of the woods west of Kalispell. Yeah, Kalispell, probably, where they'd spent the day hunting. My mom gasped as she recalled, and my dad said, "Let it go, Mary." Her father had worked backcountry logging jobs all of his life and had seen some odd occurrences through the years that could easily be explained. He'd been told if you leave it alone, it will leave you alone. There's a lot of it's going around here lately. Then she saw one with her own eyes. It was like nothing she'd ever seen before, but she knew it was Bigfoot. There was no doubt in my mind, she said. It was on the short hill, and you could see the daylight between his arms. His hair lifting in the breeze. It's all about what you see. Is it a man in hairy Levi's, or is it hairy legs? Because that's the big difference between fakes and real things. The Daily Interlake. The rest of this article was pretty interesting. I understand it. I've been at it 20 years myself now. Longer than that, actually. Daggone. I don't even want to think about the number of years I put into this cryptozoology nonsense. It's not really nonsense, or I wouldn't have put that much effort into it. But you get my meaning. It does. It takes a lifetime sometimes. I still don't have answers. You know, people out there, oh my God, and he chased after it for 27 years. Shit, I've been at it longer than that. Anyhow, moving right along here, the Tri-City Herald says the Sasquatch Bigfoot believers gather in Kennewick. That's right. As Derek Randall's life changed on August evening in 1985, then 20 years old, he was backpacking with friends in Olympic National Park. We'd worked our way up off of a ridge trail, gotten into a small clearing. We decided to make camp there for the evening, he recalled. As they pulled out their bedrolls, rocks started landing all around us, Randall said. They weren't near a base of a cliff to where they might expect the rocks to fall. They were in a meadow. Something or someone was throwing rocks. After several hit nearby, they took off. Randall stopped midway to grab his pistol out of his pack, and as he did, he stole a glance behind him. That's when he spotted it. A big hulking figure standing upright with long arms and big chest, maybe 8 feet tall. It was enough to just absolutely terrify me. And I got to tell you something, you know, Derek and I kind of have a love-hate relationship over the years. But, you know, I will outright tell people Derek Randles is a badass. I mean, he's not afraid of anything. I mean, the dude, you know, he's an elk guide. He's a off-grid guide. He can back up what he talks. He really is. And you know, I will definitely give him the credit for that. He is a definite badass. And even at 20, I'm sure he probably wasn't afraid of much. So to say that it terrified him is probably something to take notice of. So, you know, all you little people that like to run back and tell on me when I say bad things about people, well, go tell Derek Randles I gave him some props because, you know, the guy really is sincerely a badass. He'll go out in places in shorts and kitty boots in places I wouldn't even want to think about going. So with that, let's move on to another update. Hey, Big Sky Bigfoot Conference is almost upon us, September 22nd and 23rd at the Bitterroot River Inn and Conference Center, 139 Bitterroot Plaza Drive in Hamilton, Montana. They're really working hard to try and make this a success for you guys. I mean, they put these things on for y'all. They don't do it for them. I mean, they do it for a little bit of money in their pocket, but really, how much money is that really going to make for these people? Not a whole lot. It's not going to be billions. Let's just put it that way. Not even over a decade. So speaking of that, you know, they really have put in a lot of work in making this conference good. So if you're anywhere near it, I'd say get some tickets and go. It didn't burn down with the rest of Montana, but the rains are coming. The rains are coming. As Toto said, I can hear the rains in Africa. And back to the sacred stone art. That's right. Here, let me go ahead and cut off the screen sharing so I can actually show you this piece that came in. It is frigging badass. He's like, hey man, I'll make you a pipe. I was like, cool, I'll give you some props on the show. So here is, I mean, this thing is huge. It's bigger than the width of my 6 inches. You know, it's thick. It is hand machined. You know, polished by hand. I'm sure it's all done by loving hand, and it's just like I make a Bigfoot one, and I'm like, freak yeah, dude. So, and there's the back of it for you leaf heads. Nice big, you know, pinky size bowl. But boy, look at that draw pipe hole. Woo! Look at that sucker. I mean, not only is it going to draw nice, but boy, you'll be able to clean that sucker real nice too. So, props to you, my friend. I very much appreciate it. The sacred stone art is done by Aaron McCabe, most likely. He asked me for a link to the show, but he should have gone to the website to grab it because I'm already live. Anyhow, sacred stone art, for sure. That's the dude to talk to, and he can hook you up with all kinds of stuff. He's got a bunch of stuff on that page, so you can check it out. But hey, I'm going to go back into screen share here for just a moment because the old Reverend isn't going to wait. The old Reverend isn't going to wait. He's going to go and get this rant and the frig off of his chest at this point. And, you know, we're going to talk about it for a moment. You know, I've known this fella, Greg Newkirk, for quite a few years now, you know, over 5 years. He's been on the show way back when. You can search in the podcast for Week in Weird or Who Forded. I can't remember what it was under. Maybe even Newkirk. He's formed these opinions about Bigfoot with zero actual investigation, zero actual knowledge, no real study into the event other than a 3-day trip for finding Bigfoot to get paid for it. He goes to Bigfoot conferences and takes his paranormal museum with him, which they worked really hard on that museum. Props to those guys. The paranormal, the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult is a success, and they worked really, really hard on that. Nobody can take that from them. Absolutely not. Congratulations to that. But for people who want to come into the Bigfoot world and go to Bigfoot conferences and have those people pay for your wares and pay for your goods and become members to your museum and everything else, and then to sit on their shoulder like a giant macaw parrot and take a shit down their back is kind of insulting. And that's exactly what you did with this article. Now, you wrote this back after you did the Finding Bigfoot episode, and you think that I hate you, and I don't hate you. I mean, I still care about you. You're like a lost little brother. I don't know where the hell you went wrong with Bigfoot, but you sincerely did. And those of us that take serious interest in this event and serious interest in the cryptozoology side and the actual animal side, biology of Bigfoot, take this Bigfoot's an interdimensional ghost shit really kind of insulting. Like you just sat on my shoulder and took a big giant shit right down the middle of my back. You know, and I got to tell you, I'm going to have a hard time, you know, promoting anything you're friggin' doing while you're standing on my shoulder taking a shit down my back. Now, you put this big post out again today, you know, relaying back out to this, you know, article from December of last year about how Bigfoot's an interdimensional Sasquatch, the green flash, why we'll never find a body. But I got news for you, Mr. Paranormal Expert. We find tracks. Okay, ghosts don't leave tracks. You ever found ghost tracks anywhere in paranormal investigation you ever been doing in that weren't done by the people that actually left them there? Ghosts can't interact with people. So how are Sasquatch throwing rocks or pine cones or sticks at people? For that matter, how are they coming and touching their tents like Jim Sherman had? How are they actually being a physical being if they're an interdimensional green flash ghost? I have no clue, but they do. That means that they're not a ghost. So your entire premise is shit. Please stop spreading it like an STD. This type of thing is just insulting to the people you're trying to make money from, because you're definitely not trying to answer anybody's real answer with Bigfoot. I mean, the only time you've ever put anything into it is when you were getting paid for it, period. So, you know, spend 10 years of your life and your own money investigating Bigfoot before you start running your trap about what it is, what it isn't, and why we'll never find a body. And with that, that's the Epic Rants Rev for the week. You, sir, I've kept it quiet for quite a few months, but I'm just sick to death of it. And that's why Bigfoot's not a ghost. He leaves tracks. He leaves physical evidence. He leaves handprints. We have those things. We have thousands of those things. How much physical evidence do you have for a ghost or anything paranormal for that matter? Demon, specter, possession. I mean, how much do you have? Because we have thousands of references that we can put into tracks. Probably got thousands of bullshit tracks amongst those thousands as well, but that's not the point. Point is it still leaves thousands of actual tracks out there. Paranormal things don't really leave tracks behind. Bigfoot's not a ghost. And with that, we'll leave the end of the Epic Rant for the week. All right, people, it is time for a brand new Quasi update. That's right. The 2 weeks in a row. Look at that. The Deanster is on it like, you know, like Bonnet? No, I don't think. Beckman. On it like Beckman? Nah, that might be it. I have no clue. I'm so out of the loop. But with that, let's get to it. Mr. Dean Cooper, our quasi theorist, has a story to tell you, I think. And now, from Quasi Sightings, your host, Dean Cooper.
Question. There's a lot of questions I have about almost. I should list some of them for you. Some are of great relevance to everyone. Some have only relevance to a few. Some have only relevance to me. Some have absolutely no real relevance to much of anyone or anything. I will make no attempt to provide the answer to any of these questions. Indeed, many, if not most of them, have no answer. I list them in the order they pop into my head while writing this, and as of this moment, I have not thought of any questions to list. So here goes. 1. Why does a washing machine turn some clothes inside out and not others? Tonight, for example, it turned all my t-shirts inside out. It's never done that before. That leads me to question number 2. Why does a clothes dryer turn some clothes inside out and not others? Which leads me to number 3. Why Why does a dryer seem to never turn the clothes that the washing machine turned inside out back to right side out? Number 4, if fundamentalist Christians are right, and the earth was made in 6 days, starting on October 23rd, 4004 BC, according to Bishop Usher, why did God make all those fossils, which when dated using the decay rate of radioactive elements, they had no things? Number 5, was God just trying to snooker mankind? Maybe trying to test those who believe in the scientific method? Or which method has gotten us things like the internet and indoor plumbing? Number 6, who was the hardy soul that first ate an oyster? Closely at a naked, shellless oyster, they look and taste like a gob with particularly lumpy snot. And that person convinced other people to eat them too. Number 7, what does that say about the general gullibility of mankind? I have no answer, but ask you to recall question number 4. Number 8, if theoretical physicists are correct and time does not really exist, why do we remember yesterday and not tomorrow? Number 9, if three-dimensional space is equally illusory, why am I here and not over there somewhere? There's lots of over there's where I'd rather be, but here I am. Number 10, if ancient theories about solar eclipses are right, and a big invisible sky dragon eats the sun, doesn't that mean that the sun, when it reappears, is now dragon-proof? Which leads me to the last question, perhaps the most important one, for which I have no answer. Why are you people listening to me?
I was just thinking.
Text this on my blog, Vidcast.com.
Bydean.com. I was just thinking that. Why the hell are we listening to you? I love you, Dean. I really, really do, buddy. You are one of a kind, and I'm so glad that you're part of the show. I really, really am. Crap. I pushed too many buttons at once. Let's hope it doesn't get disastrous here on the show. All right. Hey, following that, let's hear a little bit of camping tips for stupids, because that'll brighten our day up.
Camping tips for stupids. Tip number 48. Earth is going to hell in a handbasket. Hurricanes in Florida. Texas is sinking into the ocean like a damn redneck Atlantis. And wildfires scorching the northwest to ashes. Hell, if you got a spaceship, get in it and colonize a new Earth, because this one's fucked, y'all. Well, since I live in the Northwest, I'm going to teach you how not to start a damn wildfire around my fat, dorky ass. So listen up. 1. No damn campfires until the end of the summer. There's a damn burn ban in effect for good damn reason. That means no damn open flames anywhere near all the plants and trees that I like to see when I go camping. If I wanted to live in the damn Sahara Desert, I would have moved there years ago, damn it. No campfires. Number 2. No doing crack. Doing crack means using a lighter while getting high, which means you'll have a higher chance of spontaneously combusting and exploding hot flaming stupid flesh all over the damn dry wilderness. So don't do drugs, damn it. Number 3, no damn dragons. I don't give a shit how you got the damn dragon. No dragons. Ice dragons that breathe ice are an exception to the rule. 4, no giant magnifying glasses. In fact, not even thick reading glasses. Ever burned ants while you were a kid? Well, leave that shit at home. And finally, number 5. Glow sticks are a nice emergency light source when you're in a jam. But for God's sakes, never use a damn lightsaber for a light source. It's just not safe, y'all. There are many other ways on how not to start a damn wildfire. My best advice for you, if you think any more, is to stay at home, stay indoors, and tell an adult. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
I need an adult. I need an adult. Thank you so much there. Go out to the Gone Camping channel. Give a like, a subscribe, hit the little bell. You'll get all the new updates when he sets them to live as well. Jevin Moore of the Gone Camping channel with Camping Tips for Stupids. Well, here's where I go out here and say hello to all my fans that are hanging out. Boy, it's getting louder and more new people every week, and I'm loving it. So thank you so very much for being here live with me Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific. Natalie Smith, how you doing there tonight? James the Grower, I'm going to bring you back up in just a moment. Cheryl Willen, that's right. They're the top 3 in the house so far. Mr. Rod Dupree, he's always in the place to be. Star Shine, that's right. She's swinging her tool out there. Candy Apple's in the house as well. Let's see here. I know, scroll down. We got Squatch Box in the house, and I'm sure Christopher is out there watching somewhere. No, Christopher, mac and cheese is not a vegetable. Potatoes, yeah, they really are. Let's see here. Who else is out here? Jeremy Harrison. How are you, sir? Glad you're abound us. Lance Windsor. Kitten. Oh, excuse me. I got a little gin all over my beard there for a moment. How you doing, pal? Glad I give him crap all the time. Rodney Wilson. I think that's a name I have not seen before. So glad you could join us live tonight. I know there's more people than this because I saw them in there earlier. Of course, Jevin Moore is behind the Gone Camping logo tonight. Glad you're with us, sir. Dean Cooper. He's out there swinging his Quasi tool. Yeah, show him your tool. That'll make him happy. Let's see here. Jonathan Doty, how you doing, man? Glad you're in the house with us as well as Keith Harden. He's back. Oreo cream rocks because it does. It's so good. Timothy McCune is in the house. There he is. Huck from Jason from Huck Outdoors. How you doing there, sir? Glad you could make it. Get back from the gym, boy. Z here. Mama Renee 32 is checking in. And there's more people than that. Brown Dwarf, how you doing there, Chief? So glad you're with us. Lewis, back at you. Hey, man, glad you could make it this week. There's Aaron McCabe. I was just talking about your stone stuff, man. This thing, I still haven't smoked it yet, man, because, well, I don't have any flowers at the moment, but I'm getting there, I swear. Kurt Harris, that's right, the co-host of Vinyl Power tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific. Show up. Be there or be square. I swear to God, if my friends don't show up this week, I'm going to be hurt. Let's see here. Who else is there? Sharon Willen, if I didn't say your name, I did now. Andrew Jones is in the house. Obsidian Radio checking in as well. Sam Squanch Rivera is stopping in. Yeah, I know there's a whole lot more than this. He said hi to you already. Let's see here. Scroll down to the bottom here. If you haven't said hi to me yet, I can't say hi to you because I don't know you're here. But Bigfoot, Forest, Vancouver Island, hello there, sir. Glad or ma'am. I don't know which because, you know, the name's kind of oblivious or ambiguous. Yeah, oblivious would be a different way to say things too as well, I guess. Always an adventure. Luna's checking in. That's right. Boy, can that girl cook. She can hike her butt off and cook, man. That's, you know. Let's see here. Okay, that looks like the end of my list here. If I didn't say hi to you, that's because you didn't say hi to me in the chat room. Wait, no, there's wrong. I'm wrong. There's more. I'm sure there's more. Probably, maybe. I don't know. No, wait. Yeah, there's definitely more. Buck Nye, he's checking in. I saw his name in there. So glad you're with us, dude. Matthew Gaines, they're checking in. Eric Ford is checking in. Dan Hode is checking in. John Byers is checking in. Okay, I think that might be the rest of them. I think so. Yes, that looks like they're all there now. All right. Finally. Okay. Speaking of things that I was going to be updating, there's a HNN rules. Hello there. Also, hi out there to Gary and Whitney White. They were out running Irma, just trying to get food on the table. Pickles, I believe it was. There's a Vicky Olson checking in as well with us. Keep checking in because I will be. I'll check back with that right after the Eldorado Bigfoot Watch update. Congratulations to the Eldorado Bigfoot Watch. Its first donations are on their way. Another official member, James the Grower, otherwise known as James Trapp, is going to send us 2 of his game cams to put into the field for him. That's the first donations going out, and I will get those out into the field just as soon as I get them here and figure out what they are capable of working with. What the Eldorado Bigfoot Watch is basically we're going to be looking at the wintering grounds of the Sierra Bigfoots. I'm almost positive that this is exactly the location that the High Sierra Bigfoot come down into once the snowfall gets deep. So I'm going to get out there and get set up and find out where the big mammals are moving before wintertime and before spring. Hopefully, we'll have some answers out there. There was another sighting out there just recently along the Rubicon Trail by a jeeper. They saw an animal that they thought was a black bear moving up along a canyon system as they were going through the Rubicon Trail, but it stood up and walked up in front of them up the rocks. I'm trying to get full details on that as it comes. So that was like 3.5 weeks ago. Yay. The new setup is set up right. The Rubicon Trail drives directly past the ridges and the canyons of the new locations. And there's always sightings along that trail every single year. So I'm sure there's going to be resident animals as well as a bunch of moving animals that move in once the snows start to fall. So you can email us at sloungepodcast@gmail.com. If you have trail cameras that are just sitting in the closet doing nothing, send them to us. We'll put them back in the field and we'll put them back out to work. They're still yours. If you want them back, I'll take them out of the field, put them back in a box, and send them to you. We're not looking for $300 cameras. Any camera will do. 4 megapixel, 5 megapixel, it doesn't matter what the settings will do. I'll be able to utilize it one way or another. And hopefully by spring, before the first open camp out, I'll have some actual Bigfoot locations that we can take people to and see the type where we're pulling the evidence and the locations from. This is going to be a completely transparent project. This is your project. I'm just your eyes and your ears here because you can't be here. I'm also looking for a few local people to the Sacramento area. Anybody that's between here and the Eldorado National Forest, I want to hear from you guys. We're going to do some camping out there. Even if you're not a Bigfooter, if you're just a hiker, let me know. We're going to put some miles in out there. We're going to see if we can't find the hard evidence to prove that Bigfoot's not a ghost. Maybe I'm not sure about putting one on the table, but there's lots of groups out there that will. So the Eldorado Bigfoot Watch is going to be in full swing before wintertime. And like I said, I'm going to have a setup here real soon with Amazon to be able to sell some t-shirts. It'll be able to support the project as well. And, the donation cameras, I misspoke last week when I said that they were $20 cameras. At actual regular retail price, they're like $32. And that's still cheap enough. They're a 4 megapixel camera and they do exactly what I need them to do. So we're still going to be able to put a whole bunch of them into the field. I've got 4 areas of interest already picked out, and we're going to go out there next week to insert into the first one to see if we can even get to it. There's been a lot of landslides that have been blocking off roads that the Forest Service just hasn't been able to get to until they get to them, as the Tahoe people and everybody else kind of, we're going to make our money, so screw the National Forest people. Well, yeah, that's kind of sucked that the rich people always win. Anyhow, that's your update for the Eldorado Bigfoot Watch this week, and we hopefully will have more information for you next week. All right. With that, now it is time to get into the Michigan Bigfoots. That's right. Are they out there? Are they dogmen? I don't think they're dogmen. I really, really, really don't think they're dogmen. I think people that see dogmen probably see Bigfoots and just don't know it. That would probably be more likely the case than there actually being a case for a bipedal dog or a half dog, half mog. I'm a mog. I'm half man, half dog. A mog. Oh, I don't know exactly how that works out, but that's what they called him in Spaceballs. Anyhow, they called him a mog. Let's take a look here at the county that we're talking about here tonight. This is Oscoda County, Michigan. That's the only way I can pronounce it. I'm a southerner. I'm sorry if I'm really screwing the pooch on this one. I would think this would probably be a case of like relic populations of Bigfoot that, were probably living in this land before man came into it. If you zoom out a little bit here, it's connected to Canada by this weird that I can't figure out why we didn't just like take. It's kind of strange, but that's at the bottom. Over here, they got the islands. They could probably island hop to it, but I think they very well would have just invaded this whole area. Now, Michigan being a border state, of course, these could be Canadian Bigfoots that are here illegally. Maybe we need to make sure they get some jobs or start paying some taxes or something. I'm not really sure, but yeah, as you can see here, this whole peninsula is just kind of jabbed off to Canada by this little connection here, and the Great Lakes are like oceans; they might as well be. They're so damn big. But in the end of it, it's probably relic populations that were here long before the humans came into it. My computer friggin' hates Google Maps for some reason lately. It has just been super trash, and I don't know why. I hope it doesn't crash out everything, because that's what everything is actually running on. So let's hope it doesn't do that. It appears it's finally catching up. Let's see if we can go back to that there. That hopefully will be a little better for us. All right, let's see if we can get into some official reports here from Michigan. Class B from August 5th, the year of 86-87, wood knocking and tree shaking noticed while deer hunting. In 1986, the family was camped near an archery hunting zone in October. Once again, my two brother-in-laws, Dad and I, were all together archery hunting. We usually spread out in the area pretty well, and we were always separated while hunting. This afternoon, while I was just sitting enjoying the beautiful day, I heard what could only be described as the sound of pounding of wood on a tree a ways off into the deeper woods. My first thought was, who would be cutting down a tree way out there? Because they would be several miles to drag it back. But that's when I listened. I noticed something was missing. The familiar metallic ka-ching, ka-ching of the axe on wood was not present. This was definitely the sound of a branch of a piece of wood being wrapped on the side of a tree. The beating lasted about 5 minutes and then stopped. I didn't hear it anymore. I didn't really think any more about it until later, but never forgot it either. So you're sitting there, you're bow hunting, which, you're quiet, super quiet. You're trying to find the deer. You're hoping the deer walk by. And then all of a sudden, the tree knocks start ringing out. Knock, knock, knock. And you're like, oh, who's cutting down a tree out here? Knock, knock, knock. Wait a second. Do you crap yourself and leave? Or do you grab up by your bootstraps and move on? I think I hang out, find out what's making that noise. Or at least see if I can find the tree that it was getting wrapped on. Moving up in time, the year 1990, a bow hunter recalls a small Bigfoot playing peekaboo with him just east of Grayling. That's right, 489 and Griffin Road. Back in the early 90s, I was deer hunting and watched one for over 15 minutes. It appeared to be a young one and less than 20 yards from me. It was about 5 feet tall. Its fur was kind of greenish gray black. There was also a smell that I did not recognize. Not bad, but also not good. It looked at me and seemed to be hiding behind a tree, watching me in my tree. Kind of like hide and seek, maybe. It showed no fear of me whatsoever and almost seemed to smile at me. After watching one of your shows last season, I realized that what I saw was not too far from where you guys were in Grayling. I believe the guy, blah, blah, he's talking about the Finding Bigfoot show. After the sound, he or she turned and slowly walked away. I know every animal in the Michigan woods, and this was not one of them. Well, pal, because Sasquatches are in the Michigan woods too. All right. Let's see here. Next on our list is from the year 2000. Driver comes around a curve and sees a Bigfoot step into the tree line. I still have a hard time believing it myself, and the few people I've told made so much fun of me that it makes it even harder for me to believe. I'll start with a little background. No, we won't do that. As I was driving around the corner of Ball Gap, there was a huge hill, and it's really sandy that everyone rides their ATV and trucks up just to see if they can do it. And I guess there's many trails also connected to the Ball Gap. It's state land. We just wanted to see what was going on, and we drove there and didn't really stay and drove back there and looked and headed back towards town. As we were driving on the paved 72, just talking about what I don't remember, we came around a corner and we saw a Bigfoot step into the tree line. I immediately asked, "Did you see that?" She said, "What did you see? A deer?" I said, "No, it was big and black." She said it was probably a bear. I kind of snorted, and my mind thought that sure as hell was not a bear. "'Twarn't no bear." I slowed down where I seen the bear enter the woods and told her to look into the trees, but there was nothing there to be seen. Wow. So you saw and that's always the case. It's always that fleeting glance of, did I just see that? Well, if you're not out there looking for Bigfoot and you saw a Bigfoot, chances are, yeah, you actually saw that. You're out there looking for a Bigfoot and you saw that. I can't say the same thing. Our minds like to make us see things that we're looking for. That's kind of the purpose of what our minds do with matrixing. And, you've heard pareidolia and those types of words being thrown around. Well, that's the brain's automatic need to recognize whatever it is in front of it. And that's why sometimes when they see a Sasquatch, the mind can't see a Sasquatch because it doesn't know what it is. So it makes it into something that it does know what it is to make your mind accept what you're seeing. Could be a monster, could be a dragon. I don't know, Jevin. Dragons maybe are real that way. Ha! Let's see here. In the year 2006, possible daylight sighting in backwoods near Huron National Forest. I don't think that's anywhere near the county we're talking about, but the paved road was on the dirt road, Valley Road. Sure, whatever that means. The nearest town was Mio. My boyfriend was driving and some friends through the wooded area near Mio, Michigan. It's some dirt roads to the left of 33. I'm not certain exactly where I was. We were cruising along, looking at the woods that had been recently burned down. Down the road, right after this hill, my boyfriend and I both saw a huge white crossing the road. Jokingly, he said, "There's a Sasquatch." We both just assumed it was a human since it was walking upright and across the road. I was unsure how big it was since we were far down the road from it. When we got over the hill, I made a reference to seeing something and a figure. It was a human, wondering why there wasn't a car in sight. We then began talking about how strange the whole thing was. God, it's like reading a Valley Girl essay from the friggin' 80s. Sorry. You're riding around with some people checking out the burned down forest, like a lot of us will be doing after this year's fires. And next thing you know, a Sasquatch walks out in front of you. 1992, near the nearest town of Lewiston, Hunter tells of his daylight encounter while baiting bear outside of Lewiston. I was bear hunting with a buddy of mine in an area around the town of Lewiston. We had 4 bear bait sites in about a 30-mile radius. One of the sites was located in Red Oak Township. Every time we would go to this site, I had a strange feeling like I was being watched or something. It was spooky. One day before bear season started, I was checking this particular bait pile alone. There was a 2-track road that wound through the woods and up a hill and then down to a swamp. The 2-track ended at a trail, which I would park at the head and then walk down with 2 5-gallon buckets of bear bait, which usually consisted of meat scraps. And on this particular day, I had just dumped the bait on the pile and was walking up the path to my truck. The cover was fairly thick but thinned out the closer you came to the 2-track. It was about 60 yards in from the 2-track. I could see when something very strange happened. A creature of some sort, I would say about 7 to 8 feet tall, walked across the 2-track. This creature crossed the trail in one step. I've seen bears run across bears in the woods plenty of times, but I can say for sure that this tweren't no bear. It's always tweren't no bear. I was so startled that I just stopped in my tracks and said to myself, what in the hell was that? I walked closer to where the creature crossed, and I kept getting the overwhelming feeling of fear. When I got to the spot that I thought the creature had crossed, I stopped and looked in the direction of which the creature had looked, and about 30 feet or so behind a large cedar tree, I could make out what appeared to be a face, which was definitely not a bear, but not a man either. It looked kind of black, like a mountain gorilla would. In strange things, so I kind of blinked a few times, but it was still there. After about 15 seconds, the creature turned away from me and disappeared into the woods. And this was happening, I could just not shake this feeling of dread or doom. I've hunted and fished all over the state of Michigan, and I've never been afraid of anything that I've encountered, but this really shook me. And, you know, that's the thing that people say, you know, everybody wants to go Bigfooting until Bigfoot shows up. There a lot of people talk about that feeling of dread, like, did I really get myself into this? Is this really where I wanted to be right now? Well, because that's where you are. Damn squinch. All right, let's get to one more tonight here. This one's all the way from the year 2010. A daylight sighting by a motorist again near Mio. Most would say I immediately can't draw it. The encounter was incredible in broad daylight. There was no question in my mind what I had encountered. The significant part of the sighting was I saw this between an open 6-foot spaced grouping of pine trees. So the creature was alarmed when spotted and darted. Other claims maybe aggressiveness, but in this situation, they couldn't have gotten away fast enough. Yeah, that's totally confusing because something's missing in that story. Yeah, that one. Sorry, guys. There's a whole part of that whole thing is missing, and so we're not going to worry about. What do you think about Michigan? Me personally, I think Michigan's probably got some Bigfoot in it. There's absolutely no reason to. The big square where we're actually talking about, you know, that's right in the middle of state. You know, there's probably a bunch of Sasquatch still in there. A couple of hundred could breed for another 800 or 900 years before getting into genetic material or genetic material issues, DNA problems. Are humans going to last that long, or are the Bigfoot going to be able to take back over Michigan before they interbreed themselves into 3 toes and 9 eyeballs? Ugh, I don't know. But we'll soon to find out. And with that, hey, it's going to be, look at that. It's a little long edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast tonight. We are going to have another edition of Vinyl Power tomorrow on the channel. And then Saturday, we're going to do Stephen King's, the new reboot of It. That's right. The old Collier, Cole Williams, Milmus, and I would say his name wrong. We managed to get this one in us this week, so we'll be talking about Stephen King's, the new adaptation of It. So everybody can stop talking about it. And with that, that's going to do it for this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. I appreciate all you guys being out there. I do have a Bigfoot campfire story to finish this out with tonight. It's a kind of an interesting one. It's not all that long. I want to thank all you guys for being out there. Go check out the Huck Outdoors channel and Lewis's channel, the Pharaoh channel, and check out the adventure, the amazing Luna. Yeah, check out her channel as well, because wow, there's a lot of good stuff that goes on those 3. And with that, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, and there will be a after hangout after the Bigfoot campfire story. Thanks, everybody, for being here, and may the Squatch be with you. What the hell is that? I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that was a Bigfoot. Let me tell you a story. Well, this story was told to me by a rancher from Pennsylvania. During a rather pitiful wild food year, his sheep kept getting harassed, and every now and then one would disappear. Well, one night they stood guard to find the culprit and ended up with a story that's nearly unbelievable. Let's hear his story. Well, my family and I had been sheep farmers for a long time, as long as any of us can remember. My dad, granddad, great-granddad, we all worked the same hills. Over the years, we increased our land, and between the family, we owned a pretty big piece of the mountain these days. This particular year, it was dry. Drier than any of us could remember for a long time, anyhow. We gather the sheep every day, and we take a head count on every third day as to keep proper watch over the flock. It wasn't until we lost a couple of lambs that we started to think something was fishy. Well, the sheep fields were positioned between the farmhouses so that we could hear what was going on during the night. Well, the first night, it sounded like coyotes had gotten into the herd as the sheep were screaming and running all over. So I grabbed up a shotgun and headed out to see. Well, by the time I got up on the hill, things had calmed down and I couldn't see anything in particular to check out. So I went on back to the house and sat with a cup of coffee. The rest of the night was pretty much uneventful. Well, a few days later, my brother Al came over and told me that he'd been having some issues chasing the sheep for the last 2 nights up on his side of the house. He'd even found a blood trail or something that drug something else off. Well, since it was count day anyhow, we'd be able to tell what was gone. Well, after the count, we figured out there were 3 lamb and 2 sheep that were just gone. That's a lot of meat to go missing. So the 2 of us decided it was time to catch whatever it was in the act. We prepared ourselves for a long night. We sat on the hill with the sheep. The moon was bright in the sky, and it seemed like it was really late. But when I checked my watch, it was only 11 o'clock. The first stirs of sheep moved around like there was a predator watching. So I sent Al to creep along the ridge and keep an eye out, and I'd go down to the south side and do the same. Well, I'd only gotten about halfway to my position when I heard a shot ring out from Al's 308. I got the sucker! So I took off over the hill towards the kill. The closer I got to it, the more that I could see. Well, it looked like a big shaggy wolf at first. But then as we got even closer, that's when it started to get a little bit confusing. I noticed the hands. Holy God, this was a hairy... No, this was a Bigfoot. Well, I rolled it over, and Al got a full shot of the face, and he just went white and silent. We had heard tales of Indians lived here, but never we thought any of that was true. I started to get a little emotional on me and didn't know what to do next. So I asked him, I said, what we would have done if this was a wolf laying here. And he replied to me, he said, we'd bury it. Well, that's exactly what I suggested. The thing wasn't all that big, maybe 5 feet or so. It must have been a younger one. Well, like the tales we've heard, long arms, no neck, but we noticed that the thumb was weird too. Not quite in the place that a man's thumb is anyhow. Well, Al and I dragged the body over to the edge of the meadow, and I went back to the house to grab a couple of shovels. When I got back, Al was almost in shock, just staring at the body, saying, I shouldn't have shot. And he's really feeling bad that it was dead. I finally got his attention, and we dug it a proper grave. Then we put the body in it, putting the arms across the chest and covered it over with the dirt we'd pulled out of the field. We collected up our things and we went on back to my house for some coffee. We talked about it for hours into the night before we decided, well, we'd tell our father in the morning and show him where the body was. Well, first light came along and we drove over to Dad's to find him already on the porch with some coffee, waiting to hear what the shooting was about. Well, we gave him the story and told him where we had buried it. Dad said he wanted to see it firsthand, so we loaded him up in the truck and we took him up on the hill. We got about 50 yards from the spot before we couldn't drive in no more, so we went ahead and got out of the truck. approached the gravesite, that's when we noticed something was wrong. The grave had been disturbed. Hell, not just disturbed. That body was gone. Not a single thing left behind, but some blood-soaked dirt where the body had been laying. Dad and I, now we stood there on the hill for some time and decided since there wasn't anything left to go on, best was just not to tell too many people about it and just keep out of trouble. So for years, that's exactly what we did. Although that sure did end the sheep stealing. Well, these simple farmers took matters to defend their flock, and sadly a Bigfoot was killed. But it makes one think just who or what took the body. Thanks for listening. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you. And with that, a big old happy birthday goes out to Natalie Smith, since it was her birthday in the lounge as well. And Brown Dwarf, yes, email me, sloungepodcast@gmail.com, and I will get right on a cam donation from you as well. Thanks, everybody, for being here, and may the Squatch be with you.